I am not trying to quit my phone. I use my phone for audiobooks, for knitting patterns, for texting, for maps, for modern day life. But I started noticing something that I didn't love, an urge pattern to be on my phone whenever I felt uncomfortable, anxious, bored, or even if I had a couple minutes of free time, my default was to pick up my phone. So today I'm starting an experiment to see if I can reduce my screen time by knitting socks. Hello and welcome to Knit Cheek. My name is Natalie and I am the cheek behind Knit Cheek, and today I am trying to lower my screen time and get over my phone addiction. I recently made a lot of small changes to my home to make my phone a little bit more inconvenient and my hobbies a little bit more convenient. That was inspired by the analog bag, but I kind of just did that to my home instead of just a bag, and I made a whole video about it, which you can check out in the description. Now that I have done all of those changes to make my home a healthier environment, I'm now going to run an experiment where I replace a habit with another habit. Instead of trying to build just willpower to get over my phone addiction, I'm going to replace that habit with knitting socks. In the beginning of this year, January 2026, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, and I noticed that that directly impacted my screen time. Some of the worst days that I had, I was on my phone anywhere between 4.5 hours and 5.5 hours. That's a lot of screen time, and the majority of that was Instagram. So that's where I came up with the idea for these videos and the idea that I wanted to reduce my screen time and that I needed something to replace the habit. So we're gonna run an experiment for 10 days knitting socks to see how much I can actually reduce my screen time. So why socks? I think socks are perfect for this experiment because they are extremely portable, they are very repetitive, and they are somewhat mindless. You don't have to do a lot of thinking when knitting socks. Once you get it started, you're basically just knitting in the round. I actually have a dedicated video to socks where I make the argument that every knitter should be knitting socks, and I will link that in the description below. And I'm hoping if that video didn't convince you, this one will. So the idea is to always have a sock with me on the go in those situations where I would find myself scrolling. Socks work in a lot of situations where bigger projects can be a little bulky and a little awkward to pull out and knit. Like example, standing waiting in line, I can definitely knit a few rows of a sock. Let's go over the rules for this experiment. Rule number 1 is that knitting socks replaces scrolling. Every time I would normally reach for my phone to do a little scroll, I am now going to pick up my socks. Rule number 2 is I'm going to use the brick for integrity. The brick is a device that blocks distracting apps from your phone when you choose to lock your phone with the brick. You actually have to scan it to unlock those apps on your phone. So I will be using this during the experiment. However, I don't want to sound too salesy here. There are other apps that you can use if you would like to try this at home and you don't want to purchase the brick. I've tried some of these apps in the past, but I really do like the physical barrier that the brick provides. So I'm going to be using this because this is what happens to be working for me. So like I said, there's plenty of other apps out there. You do not need the brick, but grandma needs money to keep the channel going. So if you would like to try it, I do have an affiliate link in the description below. The brick or any other app that you use is not going to solve all of your problems. You still have to take the responsibility to use the app or to set and lock your phone. I mean, you can buy the thing and not use it. So I have to make sure that I'm being responsible and I am locking my phone when I need to and when it is distracting me and actually using the thing. Rule number 3 is that my phone is not a form of entertainment. And this is a really big one. I think that I have kind of developed while thinking about how I was going to break my phone addiction is that I need to start using my phone as a tool. I need to start thinking of it as a tool. It is something that I use to communicate with people. It is something that I can use to use the internet for important information, like looking up what time my local pet store closes because I can never remember. But I do not want to use it as a form of entertainment. I will continue to let myself use my phone for audiobooks and music, especially while I'm driving, but I will not use it as a way to consume short form content like Instagram and YouTube. So I will be limiting myself to watching YouTube on my TV only, and I will not be allowing myself to watch any sort of videos on my phone. Rule number 4 is that socks are not going to replace my regular knitting. I still want to make time to knit my normal projects. So during the day, the time that I set aside for regular knitting, I don't want to knit my socks that I'm doing for this experiment. I want to knit my regular size projects. The socks are just meant to fill in times during the day that I would be scrolling on my phone. So with the rules and the schedule set, let's cast on a pair of socks. For this video and this pair of socks, I'm going to be using a very special skein of yarn. This is Explorer Knits and Fibers, and I picked this up at a Woolen Affair at the Rhinebeck weekend in New York in 2025, which was my first ever Rhinebeck experience. The color is Fire, and it is in the Denali sock base, which is 80% superwash merino and 90% nylon. It's 6:20, and I definitely would normally be scrolling right now because I'm absolutely exhausted. So I'm gonna cast on these pair of socks. So day 1 of the experiment, I was definitely on my socials more than I would have liked to have been, and that is because I still experience a lot of anxiety around posting a new video to YouTube. I'm just anxious if people are gonna like it or if they're not gonna like it, and so I'm constantly checking, but that is something I'm currently trying to let go of. I don't have a ton of time. I have like 10 minutes before I have to go back to work. I had a little break and I came home to let my dog out, and I wanted to catch you up on what I was doing with my sock. I haven't been knitting a ton on this today because I left it at home because I'm gonna rip it out, and I'll tell you why. I was kind of all over the place on what I wanted to do. Originally, I just wanted to knit up this beautiful yarn by itself with no alternating cuff and just do an alternating heel and toe. So I cast it on last night and did a few rows in just the Explorer Knits and Fiber yarn, and I didn't love it. I felt like it needed something. So I cast on this cuff, but I don't like the cream color. So I'm gonna rip this out, I'm gonna restart it. I'm going to keep the contrast of the cast on. So I'm gonna cast on in this really pretty orange color. This is a Knit Pick Stroll color. So I'm gonna keep that, but then I'm just gonna do the whole sock, the dark color changing yarn from Explorer Knits and Fiber, and then I'll do a contrasting heel as well. I'm really happy with that idea. So unfortunately, I gotta undo a little bit of socking here. Okay, I'm gonna give myself 5 minutes to rip this out before I have to go. All right, going back to work. Not that I want to. Day 2 was a day that I did not allow myself to go on socials, but I did use my phone as a tool. You can see that I use the map, and the second app is an app that I use for my work. So I had to use the map app to pick up and drop off my foster cat at the vet. And I also used my work app to pick up jobs for the week, and that is just something that I have to do, and that's fine. I am using my phone as a tool and not as a source of entertainment. Day 3 was a day that I posted to Instagram, so I was on my socials. However, I found that I took it as an excuse to scroll for 20 minutes before I even posted the post, which I definitely did not need to do, but I was feeling a little down, and afterwards I was feeling bad about it. But it's important that when you do fail and you do find yourself scrolling on your phone, that you don't beat yourself over it. Like, it's just a mistake that you're going to make, especially on day 3. I really needed to be more patient with myself in this adjustment, and like, mistakes are going to happen. It's day 4 of my screen time socks experiment, and I am going up to Big Bear to take photos of the artist shawl that I finished yesterday. We're going with Mr. Cheek today. I love California and I love the mountains. There's always construction on the way up to the mountains though. but I am a mountain grandma. I love spending time in the mountains, and I will take any excuse to go up there. So Mr. Cheek had a job in Big Bear, so I went with him. And then we drove across the mountains to another mountain town called Crestline to check on one of our rental properties. And we were originally going to take photos of my artist shawl today, but the lighting was bad and we didn't get very good photos of it. So I end up taking photos later on in the week that I'm really excited to show you. And my screen time was an hour and a half for day 4, which is getting slightly better. And I'm excited to see if I can get it even lower. Just got done at the vet. Now I have to go drop off my foster kitten at the worst possible time, 5 p.m. on a Friday. Wish me luck. Day 5 was get shit done day. I had a huge list and it was great for productivity. I got so much done. So I'm honestly surprised that my screen time was still clocking in at an hour and a half, but I don't know what I was doing, but I was listening to audiobooks and I was getting shit done. So I am happy with that. Day 6, we drove out to the greater Los Angeles area to visit family. This is where my dad lives. I'm just kidding. He does not live here. This is Palos Verdes. It's a very, very nice area of LA that is extremely expensive, but I thought it would be funny to say that. So we visited just a couple of parks and walked around before it got too hot. And then we drove up to Redondo Beach to meet my brother and his girlfriend for some poke. I know, poke twice in 1 week in this economy. There was so much traffic getting to my dad's this day, but I did get a lot of my sock done, which is great. I actually stayed off of socials for the most part all day today. I did check Facebook Marketplace because I'm in a new city and I need to check out the goods that they have. But I did find that it was hard for me to stay off my phone when I was stuck in a car for so long. Day 7, I finished the heel of my sock and I hosted a book club at my house in the morning, and then we headed back up to the mountains to clean the Airbnb that I manage and also to take some photos of my finished artist shawl. I know I talk about this a lot, but I really do love YouTube because it has given me a resource to be creative and has reignited my love for photography. Day 7, I'm starting to feel like I'm plateauing and I'm just unable to get my screen time lower than an hour and a half. Hello and welcome to day 8 of my sock experiment. I am currently working from home. When I say working from home, I mean I am working on knit cheek stuff. So I posted a post to my Instagram this morning and I am currently editing a video. And I find when I have these days that I'm working from home, I tend to scroll a lot as a way to give myself a break. I physically crave breaks when I'm working on my computer and I don't understand why I feel like picking up my phone would be any better. Today I have my sock next to me and I have been putting in a few rows here and there every time I feel the urge to scroll. And I have noticed that this is the most I've felt an urge to scroll or to be distracted from my work all week. So I feel like this is actually probably a really big breakthrough for me to realize that this is one of the things that triggers scrolling for me. So I'm really excited to figure that out and to figure out a system that works while just having the sock right next to me so that when I feel like, oh, I need a distraction, I can knit a few rows and then get back to work. Today is Monday and we are going on a last minute trip camping Tuesday through Thursday this week. This is why I'm trying to get a lot of my work done today. I am hoping today that I am able to finish this sock and then that way I can work on my second sock while camping. While the goal of this video was never to finish a pair of socks, it was to curb my screen time by knitting a pair of socks. I was kind of hoping that I would finish so that I would have a pair of socks to put in my thumbnail and to hold up and to show you. And I was kind of not feeling like that was going to happen, but I've been thinking about it, and I think I might add a couple days to this experiment. So instead of 10 days, we might go to 12 days. Don't quote me on that. So I'm going to get back to work, and I'm hoping later today I will catch up with y'all and show you a finished sock. So today was another day that I was posting on socials, and I thought I would take the opportunity to talk about my relationship with Instagram. As you can see here, I spent a whole 30 minutes on Instagram today, but that was because I was posting, so it makes sense. I used to really love Instagram as much as I love YouTube today, but I have kind of fallen out of love with it. I just don't like where the platform is going. However, I am flirting with the idea of doing YouTube full time. Just saying that out loud makes me want to delete everything that I just said, but I aspire to maybe do that. I don't know. I really do love making videos and quote unquote content and would like to continue to do it. And I feel like in order for me to do that, I need to build up my numbers on Instagram as well. So I would like to continue to post on Instagram, but I want to do it in a more thoughtful way. Like, I don't want to be preaching about how I'm stopping scrolling and then produce scrolling type of content on Instagram. So my goal is to create actual useful content on Instagram. I don't know, I'm just rambling, but I have this relationship with Instagram that I am trying to improve and to make it more useful to me. As you can see, this is day 1 of camping, and this was another day that I found that it was very, very hard to stay off my phone when I was in the car on the way. It was a 3-hour drive, and I did brick my phone for the entire time we went camping, so I was not on social media for the entire day. However, on the way there, I found myself in a hole researching about PFAs and tents. And that is a whole spiel that I could go down. But basically, we found out that there are chemicals on tents that stay in the environment forever. And I started researching all of this on ChatGPT. And I'm so sorry if you're not a fan of ChatGPT. I'm on the fence about it. And also, everything that it tells me is usually wrong. So I don't know. But I was using it in the car, and I realized like halfway through the drive, like, oh my God, I've been on this for 17 minutes. And guess what? I was never going to buy a new tent. We are not in the financial position to buy a new tent. So why was I doomed like looking this up and spending all this time when I should have been enjoying the views? Day 2 was a lot better. And I mean, I'm camping, so I feel like I didn't have an excuse to be on my phone this day. So I did relatively good on day 2. And this is where I finally started to feel this breakthrough of where I was disconnecting from my phone and I no longer wanted to be on it. That's easy to say when you're camping, so we're going to see if it sticks. Also, the second sock was going a lot faster than the first sock. I had a lot of trial and error with the first sock, with trying out a few different cuffs, and also it was my first time doing a forethought heel. So I actually had to knit the heel before I could do the toe to make sure that the foot fit right.
Now, what do I get if I get them all in? One row, every disc. You gotta keep that in.
Okay, we're coming up on day 10 and I am finally seeing some results. But I just want to quickly say again that if you are dealing with a phone addiction or trying to stop scrolling, don't beat yourself up if you have bad days. It's gonna happen. It's going to take time to kick the habit. It's not easy. All of these things are meant to hold our attention, and it is an uphill battle. Camping was never a part of this original video idea, but I'm so glad that it happened because it really helped me disconnect by getting outside. And here we have it, day 10, I got my screen time down to 41 minutes. But that's not even the best part. Day 11, I got down to 17 minutes. So let's take a look at my average for the weeks that I was doing the experiment and the week before. As you can see here, my average was a little bit more than 3 hours. I got it down to a little under 2 hours week 1 and almost to an hour week 2. So those are my results after 11 days, and I am really happy with them. So what worked? I really do feel like knitting socks has helped me kick my addiction to my phone. It gave me something to reach for in those in-between moments and when I felt the urge to distract myself. And it helped me to realize triggers that I didn't even realize that I had, like being a passenger in a car or taking breaks while working from home. So what stuck? The biggest shift for me is that my phone no longer feels like a source of entertainment. It feels like a tool. Even today, my screen time is under 10 minutes. Let me screenshot that for you. It is 2:30 p.m. and my screen time is 8 minutes. And that is because I no longer feel an attachment to my phone. I feel this new separation that I definitely did not have before. Some of the benefits that I have been noticing from this shift is that I am sleeping better, I am going to bed earlier, I am waking up earlier, and I genuinely feel like I have more time in my day. My goal was never perfection, it was awareness, and I feel like I really accomplished that. Also, it was never my goal to finish a pair of socks, but I did finish one, and I will show you that here. On my second sock, I just need to do the toe and the heel. So this is how much I got done in 13 days. It's been 13 days now since I've started knitting these socks. So this is what I was able to accomplish by reducing my screen time and replacing that scrolling time with knitting socks. I think if I would have ran this experiment to 2 weeks, I would have definitely finished. One of my biggest takeaways from this experiment is that this took a lot longer than I expected it to. I thought that I would see results a lot quicker, and I really didn't feel a mental shift until the end of this experiment. It took time to break my addiction to my phone. So it wasn't just about blocking apps. It was about breaking the habit of reaching for the distractions in the first place. The brick really helped me break the initial addiction to social media, but it took more than that. I really had to reset my brain in my relationship with my phone. I really like that with the brick, I don't have to delete all of my social media apps. I can still use them intentionally when I need to. So I'm definitely going to keep using this so that I don't fall back into old habits. I don't think that socks by themselves fixed my habit with my phone, but they gave me something to reach for, and that made all of the difference. Replacing a bad habit with a good habit has really helped me reduce my screen time. Thank you so much for watching and coming along with me on this experiment. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully with a little less scrolling.